Welcome back. Now it's time for our market update with Catherine Murray, host of The Buck Stops Here. Over to you, Catherine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to your weekly market recap. I am Catherine Murray. Well, we are seeing mixed North American equity markets today. It's been somewhat of a volatile week. We'll start with those U.S. markets. We did get a hotter than expected CPI inflation reading on Tuesday, which caused the markets to sell off. And the reason for that is because investors are now wondering what that might mean for the U.S. Federal Reserve in terms of when they will cut rates. If we've got hotter inflation, the view, of course, is that the Fed will wait longer. And so you saw the markets really pull back on that news. So we have seen a bit of volatility this week, and probably more so than we've seen over the past number of months because of this push and pull of economic data. Speaking of which, we also had retail sales in the United States that missed expectations by quite a bit. They were down by 0.8 versus 0.1 month over month, and with specific weakness across most sectors. So that caused a little bit of a pause for concern as well as it relates to the economic outlook. And then today, interestingly, we did get hotter than expected PPI. So again, another inflation reading that is causing investors to wonder what that might mean for the U.S. Federal Reserve. And why this matters so much is because if they wait too long to cut rates, because many people say that they need to cut sooner than later, otherwise we risk a recession or a harder landing, it causes a lot of consternation within the broader market. So a lot of push and pull as it relates to the economic data this week. I would say, however, that a lot of strategists still do believe that disinflation is continuing. So we are seeing inflation come down. It is coming in the right direction, and that the U.S. Federal Reserve will, in fact, cut. But the question, of course, is when, not if. Just looking at a couple of stock-specific stories in the United States, AMATS within the tech sector, they reported a better than expected earnings as well as guidance above expectations. That stock is up 8%. Ingersoll Rand within the industrial space also had a nice fourth quarter beat, so that stock was up 3%. Nike, I would just point out, is cutting 2% of their workforce. So you are hearing that as a theme amongst a number of large cap companies, cutting the employee count. So something to watch for. I would just say as well, as we look at those U.S. markets, it was interesting to see the R2K or the Russell 2000, which represents the small cap companies in the United States, be the best performer within the market this week. Shifting to the Canadian markets, the TSX is up today following a higher move on Thursday. On track for 1% weekly gains. We'll see where we end the day. We are seeing WTI continue to move higher. Canadian dollar continues to move lower versus the US dollar, down by about 0.2% on the week. In terms of stocks here, Air Canada, for one, did have a smaller than expected loss, but nonetheless, the stock is under pressure, down by about 5%. We also have ticker TRP or TC Energy having a strong quarter, a beat on the fourth quarter, $1.35 versus $1.10. So some really nice strength for that company in terms of their most recent results. In terms of what we might hear from the BOC, a lot of data points, of course, to consider. We did have existing home sales in Canada up by 3.7% month over month. Not a bad number necessarily, but certainly well below the 10-year average. Also importantly as well, rental prices, according to the CBC, up by about 10%. And this really lends itself to the debate that the BOC, the Bank of Canada, is having as it relates to when will they start cutting rates. And we did hear from them this week that they might be willing to look through the elevated shelter prices. So again, despite the fact that rents are higher and the cost of living is higher, it's not a sure thing in terms of when they're going to be cutting. Again, that's the real question mark right now within North America, BOC and or the Fed, in terms of we're expecting them to cut, but when is the big question. I'll leave it there. Back.
Thanks for that, Catherine. If you'd like to check out more coverage in the markets, tune into The Buck Stops Here only on the News Forum.